All right, today we're jumping into one of the most provocative and, let's be honest, pretty unsettling ideas from Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. It's a law that really pushes back on our modern ideas of what it means to be free and independent.
So here it is, Law 11, stated in brutally simple terms. Learn to keep people dependent on you. I know, it's a concept that feels almost sinister, doesn't it? It cuts right to a very uncomfortable truth about how power often works.
Now, the core argument here is completely counterintuitive. You see, Greene suggests that real freedom isn't about being totally self-reliant. Nope. He says it comes from being so essential, so indispensable, that other people can't afford to get rid of you. The more they need you, the more freedom you actually have. To really get our heads around this, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the basic logic, then we'll look at a cautionary tale. What happens when you get this wrong? After that, we'll dive into the keys to real power, the tools you need to become indispensable, and finally, the really strange paradox at the heart of this whole thing.
So what's the actual thinking behind this law? Well, at its core, the book basically argues that power isn't something you have in a vacuum. It's a social game. And in that game, your security, your value, it's all directly tied to how much other people need you.
I mean, think about it. If anyone can do your job, you're replaceable. The moment you become a little inconvenient, or maybe a little too expensive, poof, you're gone. You're completely at the mercy of someone else's whims.
But, and this is the key, this is where the power starts to shift. When you build a unique value, a skill that's really hard to find or replicate, you create a dependency, and that dependency gives you leverage. It gives you, paradoxically, the freedom to move and act, because getting rid of you would just cause way more problems than it solves.
Now, to see what happens when this law is ignored, the book gives us this incredibly stark story from the Middle Ages. It's really a tale about the danger of being powerful, but not truly needed.
So you've got this mercenary soldier, this condottieri. The guy is an absolute hero. He's the toughest, most skilled warrior the town has, and he single-handedly saves them, securing their freedom and their safety. By all accounts, he should be celebrated for the rest of his life.
But see, once the fighting stops, the town starts looking at him a little differently. The enemy is gone, sure, but now they have a new problem. This incredibly powerful, independent warrior, he's a loose cannon. His only real loyalty is to himself, not to them, and he has the power to turn on them whenever he wants. Suddenly, his strength becomes their biggest weakness.
This is where the story takes a really dark turn, and it's all based on cold, hard logic. The mercenary had served his purpose. The war was over. So what was his value to the town now?
Yep, they executed him. It's a brutal ending, I know, but it illustrates the law perfectly. His services were just not indispensable anymore. The town figured, hey, if another enemy comes along, we'll just hire another soldier. He went from being their savior to being a liability. He was powerful, sure, but they didn't depend on him, and that cost him everything.
So, the million-dollar question is, how do you avoid the mercenary's fate? To see this law applied by a true master, we have to turn from a nameless soldier to one of history's greatest political operators.
You see, unlike the mercenary, who was basically an independent contractor, the Prussian statesman Otto von Bismarck wove himself into the very fabric of the government. He made himself the central hub for every piece of information, every key decision. Getting rid of Bismarck wouldn't just be like firing a minister, it would mean the total collapse of the administration he had so carefully built around himself.
And you know, Bismarck was playing a very, very old game. It's something Machiavelli nailed centuries earlier. True power isn't about screaming for loyalty. It's about creating a system where being loyal to you is just the smartest move for everyone else involved.
So how do you actually do this? Let's get practical. Let's break down the strategies the book actually suggests for creating this kind of dependency.
The book kind of lays out a three-pronged attack. First, you have to have a unique talent, something critical that people can't just learn overnight. Second, don't be a lone wolf. Build a wide web of allies so that getting rid of you would mess things up for a lot of other people. And third, control the information. Be the one who holds the secrets or the specialized knowledge everyone else needs. Now, these strategies lead to two different types of power. There's intensive power, which is all about being that unique specialist. This gives you freedom because you can take your rare talent anywhere. Then there's extensive power, and this is the Bismarck model. It comes from that wide web of influence, and this gives you security because you're just too tangled up in the system to be easily removed.
But wait, because there's a crucial reversal to this law, a final twist that you absolutely have to understand. There's a hidden cost to this whole strategy, and it can backfire if you're not careful. See, the thing is, when you tie your fate to a boss or a company by making them need you, well, you start needing them too. It's a two-way street. You need them to need you. It becomes a relationship of mutual dependence, a kind of golden cage.
The source argues that trying to be completely 100% free, like our mercenary friend, usually just leads to isolation and disaster. The real world runs on a complex system of interdependence. The key isn't to escape it, but to figure out how to master your position within it.
And this reveals the true checkmate position. The ultimate power move isn't about being the king. It's about being the indispensable power behind the throne. You get all the influence with none of the risk. The person in charge might have the title, but in reality, they can't function without you. In a way, they become your captive.
And all of this leaves us with one last thought. This law isn't just some cynical strategy for climbing the corporate ladder. It's really a lens for seeing the invisible ties of dependence in all of our relationships. So it's worth asking yourself, in this intricate dance of power we're all in, who really depends on whom?